How's that work?
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, and welcome to John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
What I immediately notice is that this is not the usual Universal logo because it starts a lot further away and then goes in. This was like a very moderated version of it, and you'll immediately recognize the font, the John Carpenter-esque font that he uses in all of his films. Now, this is the second, or I believe it's one of the first few of the Alive film collaborations that he had with Larry Franco.
Yes, and this is supposed to be his like Apocalypse trilogy.
This is part 2, right? Because the
Part
thing was
3. It's the Thing, They Live, and then.
See, I've heard differently. I've heard it's the Thing, this, and then In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
But
people say both.
I have
say
heard
both.
when people talk about the Thing, or They Live, that kind of falls into the same territory. I mean, he was clearly working out a lot of stuff, both in his interests in metaphysics, and a lot of the science stuff is really just kind of his wheelhouse, but also dealing with things like, common fears of the apocalypse and the end of the world, but coming from different standpoints. One from the skies. In this case, a big ball of like a shampoo. And then obviously the third one, Stephen King-esque novel.
Our main character, Brian Marsh, played by Jameson Parker.
From, what was it? What's the TV show that he was on?
Simon & Simon.
Yes.
He is so creepy. This character would never fly in a modern-day movie. Also, if you pay attention, the opening credits of this movie are almost 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
10 minutes. And the whole thing is set up by the end of it with very little dialogue.
Now,
let me finish on
God damn it.
On the Brian Marsh character. When we meet him, he's stalking Lisa Blount, Catherine.
Yeah.
He sees that she has a boyfriend, which is what we just saw, but then he still hits on her anyway and asks her to go get coffee. He makes a sexist joke that really puts her off and then still asks her out, embeds her on the first date. My theory is that it's the Tom Atkins mustache. In fact, a lot of people think
that's not a Tom Atkins mustache. That's a poor imitation of a Tom Atkins mustache.
John Jameson Parker?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a healthy mustache, but to the point that a lot of people think they remember Tom Atkins being in this movie if they haven't seen it in a long time.
Because of the mustache? That's
They're
funny.
Like, oh yeah, Tom Atkins is great in that. No.
This was
Wong.
all these scenes with Victor Wong and Jameson on campus. This is all shot at USC, his former alma mater.
Yes.
So to be able to go back and like shoot scenes, and we've been on this campus before.
John Carpenter, the reason why he did this movie was he was burned out on the studio shit.
After Big Trouble.
Yeah, he wanted to go back and do things his way. So when he was offered $3 million and final cut, he could not resist that.
It's interesting to watch this too, because I remember when this came out, when it was in Fango, and the cover had, what's her name? Susan Blanchard, who plays Kelly, her pizza face. And you're like, what the fuck is this movie? But it's been a few years for Carpenter fans, and I was definitely one of them, since he had done a horror.
Blocker.
What a fucking great porno name. But it had been a while since he had done horror. The last horror effort that he had done was Christine. Mm-hmm. And then after that, there was Starman, and then that kind of built some success off of that. And then he was able to do Big Trouble, and obviously that didn't work out as planned at the time. Now it's a classic. But for him, this was a return to form. And you talk about this first 10 minutes, and you're right, everything gets set up really wonderfully. But if you notice, the score, which, you're listening to us jibber jabber away, but if you've heard the score before that he and Alan Haworth collaborated on, there is such a forward momentum, and it's so typical, like Carpenter's like dun 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 dun, it's got that propulsion that it doesn't feel like 10 minutes ever.
No, one of my hang-ups with this movie is actually the score. I think that there's too much of it. It's typical John Carpenter score.
Is it the choral stuff?
It just doesn't stop. It's like,
you're right, it doesn't. It's all over the place.
It hurts the suspense because one of the things that Carpenter is the master of when it comes to fear, suspense, he does these like slow, wide shots. He's never in a rush. He's never quickly cutting, trying to sell you that you're excited or that you're nervous. Mm-hmm. He just lets you observe. And his what's the right word? His reserve, I guess, with the camera. Mm-hmm. Spielberg is the same way. If Spielberg's going to show you a close-up, there's a reason for it. It's not just, well, that character's speaking, so let's see their face closer. Carpenter is very deliberate with when he cuts, when he moves the camera, and as the audience, usually within 10, 15 minutes, you accept it and you're just along for the ride. You're in his very capable hands, and then he's in control.
That's you said the key word there. Side note, if you've ever been to LA, I highly recommend going down the road to go see this. It's downtown.
They've done screenings there.
Yep, they've done actual screenings of Prince of Darkness there, which is a trip. It doesn't look exactly the same. I've been inside it, but still, just to be in the ambiance of that whole room. What you were mentioning before about control, and I remember even in 4x3 watching it on HBO at home, and then later listening to the commentary, he's even said this is his most controlled film. I didn't quite get that at first.
Look at the anamorphic lenses, too.
But the anamorphic lenses, the moves, the cuts, all the angles, I'm sorry to use the snooty word, but like with the mise-en-scène that he's using here, everything could be stopped and paused, and there is resonance to all of it. Like this shot here with Father Loomis. By the way, when I first saw this movie, I swear to God, I thought that it was actually Dr. Loomis, and he had just kind of traded up professions a little bit.
It's very weird that he named him Loomis.
It works. It's totally fine, like after the fact when you knew it, but you know, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have IMDb back then. So when I saw it, I was like, is that... You couldn't rush home to check Google and find out if that was really the case or not. I don't even think it was mentioned in Fango at the time that he had done that.
See, that's a healthy mustache. Come on, you can't knock that mustache.
It's almost it's obese. It is healthy. Yes, it's a fucking fat kid who's been eating Cheetos after school for 3 months straight. Like, and it even has some Cheeto dust on it. I will say,
once again, stalking her.
I would still give that a mustache ride. It's pretty formidable. I also want to run over there and like rip it off him too, because it looks a little fake. It's so big.
The reason why Carpenter ended up making this movie was at the time he had become enamored. You know, he's a very, very big reader, and he was enamored with theoretical physics and atomic theory and things that would bore the average person. But this movie is so much richer and deeper in terms of subtext and in terms of just like the facts that are being thrown around. When you listen to Victor Wong addressing his class and stuff, and they're talking about theoretical physics, and they're talking about when does time begin and time end, and it's one of those things where the journalist that I interviewed with, he said, when you saw this as a kid, did you understand any of what they were talking about?
Yeah.
And I said, no, but I just believed it. I understood enough, and I believed it because I assumed they wouldn't be saying it unless somebody had researched it. Like, it had to come from somewhere.
This was also Gary Kibbe's first
Gordon.
film with, and Andre Blay, who also worked on The Blob. Gary Kibbe, this is his first collaboration with Carpenter.
Yes, yes.
And one that went well beyond obviously this film and then his other lower budget efforts. One of the reasons why Carpenter hired him was because he was fast, you know, and for a movie like this, you know, again, coming off of something as big and laborious as Big Trouble in Little China, this must have felt like, when like James Wan went from like the bigger studio efforts to do Insidious.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of time, but if you can pull off what you need to, we will leave you the fuck alone. And this, in every way, shape, and form, even to the point where it almost becomes kind of parody, this is a John Carpenter movie and earns the John Carpenter above the title.
Yes.
Now, again, using these title cards the way it does, like, you know, you saw that moment where Father Loomis was at the typewriter and then it just cuts to black with another title card. What I love about what he did with that, and you called it before, it's like it is one long title sequence in a way.
Yeah.
But in a weird cinematic language sort of way, just by continuously cutting to those things, to those title cards, one, it keeps the audience on edge. You don't know what's going to happen next. And even if like you're cutting to black, but when you have these shots here, like the nuns, right? The 3 nuns walking past, they look like they could be part of an animated title sequence. So,
or the titles could have been over those shots. But
they could have easily done that with this.
What's interesting, though, is by making the choice to cut to black and do the titles and taking such a long time, it's almost like a montage cheat. Because if you took those slugs out, then all of these shots would have to either, some of them at least, would have to have time dissolves between them.
And connections.
And connections.
Dude.
Whereas now, you don't need it because you go to a title card.
Now that they've set up the language that this is not your typical kind of expository kind of sequences where we're getting to know the characters. Martin Quatermass, that is John Carpenter.
Yes.
But the fact that we're now kind of in this idea that we're part of this longer sequence. Just that moment when Victor Wong and Donald Pleasence were in that temple area, when you see them walking up, it immediately smash cuts to them already in the middle of a conversation planted between each other. And you would not be able to get away with it. That would be sloppy filmmaking.
Yes.
If you were not in a title sequence where the audience feels like they're part of a montage in a way. And this is just montage with dialogue.
Again, I say this all the time about Once Upon a Time in the West, but look at the storytelling accomplished in those first 10 minutes of this film. It's days have gone by, days of information traveling, of events, the priest being found dead, what was in his hands, Donald Pleasence being sent out to investigate, meeting with Victor Wong, and it's so much is accomplished. And by staggering the title cards and using them more as slugs, you're able to do it without having to do handoffs and transitions between them.
Or hand jobs.
Hand jobs.
I didn't know this until recently, but the genesis of the project was a dream that Deborah Hill had, and Deborah relayed this image of this kind of staticky, fuzzy character that's standing at this doorstep in a church,
and being terrified of it.
Yeah, and then just that image. Now, if you've seen the movie before, you're listening to this now and you immediately know exactly the shot I'm talking about.
The Brotherhood of Sleep.
The handheld shot that's outside the church looking in through the grates. It's actually shot off of a TV, so it feels like it's got a transmission quality to it. It's the voice of the transmission
Carpenter.
is John Carpenter himself. But and then what I love about what he does, and it's perfectly set up in this first scene where you're using more staccato editing, where you're able to kind of jump around in time, be able to jump back and forth between, fantasy sequences, dream sequences, even premonitions, if you will. But the fact that he doles out that shot so delicately throughout the whole film, so that by the end of the film, it is such a wonderful reveal that, I remember watching it going, I didn't see that coming.
Well, if you took that dream sequence, that shot, the whole Brotherhood of Sleep thing out of this movie, I wouldn't care about it. It'd be fine. But
I could see that.
Terrifying to me. The idea that everybody within proximity of each other involved with this, they're all having the same dream, and each time the dream is revealing a little bit more and a little bit more. And then once you can really start to listen to what it's saying, if you're receiving this, we're transmitting to you from the year 1999, and our technology isn't advanced enough to send you a message, while you're awake, we have to use sleep. And it's a warning, and they're showing them the future. It's so fucking great. The thing that made me, and I spoke about this at length in my interview, the thing that made me fall in love with this movie again, because this came out in '87, so when I saw it, it was cool. I really liked it, but I didn't know enough about filmmaking yet to really appreciate it.
I did.
When at 12,
of course I did.
Sure you did. So when
who the fuck are you talking to, dude?
When Marilyn Manson put out the single for Lunchbox, the B-side was a song called Down in the Park.
Oh my fucking God. I know where you're going. Holy shit.
And it
totally, the transmissions.
And I'm like, where do I know this from? Where do I know this? Prince of Darkness, it's the transmission. So I went back and watched it again. Now, instead of 87, it's 94, 95.
Yeah.
And
only 5 years removed from when it's supposed to be the apocalypse, too.
Exactly. But the difference of Adam Green, the film fan at 12, and Adam Green, I think I'm going to be a filmmaker at 18, 19, very, very different. And then I saw this movie in an entirely different light. I was looking at shots. I was looking at pacing. I was listening to the score, studying the script, looking at the performances, which I would do anything to be able to go back to 12-year-old Adam Green who
and
just
enjoy
was
it like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like this movie.
One thing to notice in these shots with Victor Wong and Donald Pleasence, one of the motifs that I don't think gets really used in The Thing as much, but the use of crosses, very much like the uses of crosses in The Mouth of Madness.
Yes.
When he's in the crazy house, the insane asylum. I gotta say, Dennis Dunn has the best shirt in this fucking movie and possibly in all of 80s cinema. Look at those sleeves, dude. Like rolled up perfectly, slightly off pink.
Also, his
amazing
dialogue, like half the stuff that comes out of his mouth would not fly today.
Oh, God, no.
Also, the fact that they enter that basement, right, and that no one's been in, and there's this mysterious green liquid. Who keeps those 8,000 candles burning at all times?
They have nuns. They have nuns who like really good shampoo. So they like to go down there, take a little bit of that Pantene Pro V and throw it in and, light a few candles.
The key from the dead priest, nobody could get in there, but...
I didn't
They're
hear that.
self-lighting candles.
One thing to also mention, too, when you were talking before about just looking at things differently, like that to me is why Carpenter has transcended just usual genre cinema and is studied in schools. Because you look at the amount of care that went into even rudimentary wide shots like this and how well composed it is. But like all of the thematics that are going into what could ordinarily be a movie about the devil. That's it. It's a movie about a bunch of people, going on this, quote unquote, contained expedition to find either the devil or is it the anti-god or we don't know. But to me, at the time, you're right. At 12, I was just like, this movie's scary. It's gory. They're supposedly the end of the world. You might see the devil at the end. But then you're right. When this movie came out on Laserdisc, and the first time that I had ever seen it letterboxed, that was, for me, around the time that I was in film school, that I was starting to really appreciate Carpenter on a level beyond just he makes scary movies. Because you look at Assault on Precinct 13, and that is a beautifully composed movie.
Escape from New York.
And, fucking Christine and Starman, like all these movies that he's putting out. To me, you go, why does this guy think he can put his name on the movie? Because you can tell a John Carpenter movie from the sound design, from the compositions, from the way that it's paced, there's the writing, it's all there. And the ownership and the authorship of these feels like, the term elevated horror that everyone loves to use now.
Oh,
like,
yes.
I gotta say, like, I'm shocked that A24 hasn't made a John Carpenter movie because I think now he's old and grumpy or whatever, but he was making elevated horror before they were even using that term. We just didn't really get to appreciate it, whether it was because, we're watching it on HBO or on VHS and you can't really enjoy like how he's framing these shots for very specific reasons. Like before you were saying about how, he's not just shooting coverage a lot of times.
Yeah.
There are deliberate elements and angles that feel prepared.
What we're looking at right now is a great example. Now, in less capable hands, and this is a very simple exercise, so don't expect to be all impressed with this, but like a conversation like this could be done in singles, but look at how he keeps the frame dirty. And this is filmmaking 101 that we would all do. But it started when we first met them, if I'm correct, it was singles. But now they're dirty singles, meaning we're seeing the edge, the out of focus edge of the other character within the same frame. They're getting closer. They're getting to know each other. He's bringing them closer together. But still, no camera movement in that whole scene. It's very, very basic. It's very standoffish. And he's never like, oh, I need to have a cool shot in this sequence.
This isn't a flashy movie at all.
And cool shots can ruin your movie if you're doing them just to do them.
Actually,
it's such a student film mistake.
Yeah, there's one shot in the movie that I can say is a flashy shot. We'll get to that. I'll point it out. But
yes,
you know exactly which one I'm talking about. Yep.
Yes.
Which I didn't know. Well, I'll get to it. We'll talk about it.
In the moment, it's forgivable. But it stands out like a sore thumb. It's the only time it happens. And you got to remember that, like, that's awesome that you came up with a cool shot and you moved your camera all around and you flipped it in the air and threw it to a second camera operator or whatever. If your audience is going, whoa, look at that shot.
Then they're out of the movie.
They're out of the movie.
The use of the homeless people in the film, and obviously we'll get to our
Alice Cooper.
More than celebrity cameo with Alice Cooper, which is such a cool story about how he got involved. I never really understood the homeless problem in LA until I moved here. And then right when I moved here, like you just go downtown and it's an unfortunate epidemic there, you know, and now more than ever here, fun fact, a lot of assistants who work in this town are homeless. They live in their cars. They live at hostels, you know, because they can't afford, because of the paltry, you know, the paltry fees that they get paid. There was an article about it last year. Yes. There was an article about it last year that there are so many assistants,
like at agencies companies,
like agencies. There are people living, dude, in Venice Beach. There is like a collective of people that are like living in this like area where they kind of look out for each other. They're all fucking assistants. They all met on the fucking tracking board.
Whoa.
It's terrifying. So that is showing you a slight idea of the relevance behind like even just the use of the homeless in this film.
How can they do that though? Because I mean, you have to wear a suit to work every day when you work at an agency.
They go to the YMCA, they go to the 24-hour fitness. Everyone finds a way. There are people who have made like their vans into little mini houses, and it's no rent. They don't have to worry about, you know, expenses or not expenses, but like utilities and shit. And
I knew I should have gotten an SUV.
But think about it though, like if you think about how much, and you know, and I know too, like how little a lot of these assistants make, it makes total sense. You know,
I know
like,
how little a lot of filmmakers make.
Exactly, and we should all be fucking homeless. We'll live on the streets with Alice Cooper. It'll be great. Yeah, I never realized how creepy this dude is.
He's such a fucking creep.
Now, would he be so creepy if he didn't have the mustache?
Well, the mustache makes me expect him to get out of the bed and go straight to a playground and just watch the kids play. He's not going to touch. He's just going to watch. But he is definitely a creep of a male lead for sure.
Especially when he walks out like looking like that, like check me out, look at my abs.
That was actually in his contract. They had to show his abs at least twice in the movie. So there's that shot, and there's another one coming up in about 11 minutes.
Very interesting matte shot there too when they're using the sun and the moon together. Like I never noticed that it looked very matte-esque. You'll also notice while watching this movie that there's a lot of recurring players from the previous film. And that I really, oh God, man, I
should point out that wasn't really in his contract. That's the first like made up thing in this commentary.
Welcome to a movie commentary.
I'm assuming you guys would know that, but you just, because we've been so on point and serious so far.
All of a sudden you have to throw a zinger in there.
Sorry.
I was always appreciative.
It was 3 shots with his abs.
Shut up. I was always very appreciative of his use of diverse actors in this film. And I thought at first...
Same thing with Romero, dude. They always just went with who was best for the part.
Exactly.
And then when people celebrated it later and said, oh, that was so great that you cast an Asian person or that you cast a black... Carpenter, Romero, Wes Crape, they were always like, okay.
You can tell they almost get a little testy about it. Like, we didn't have an agenda. The only agenda that Carpenter had in this was to surround himself with as many great people as possible. And he talks about this on the commentary because, again, you're working at a level that you have to be expedient, efficient, and know exactly what you need. And when you have people that you've worked with in the past, like Victor Wong, like Dennis, it makes total sense why he'd bring them back. And they're not roles written for Asian characters at all.
And when I got that on, I mean, the Hatchet series is diverse. Victor Crowley, that cast, you have an Asian person, you have a black person, you have, like, everyone's represented.
Victor Crowley is black.
Yes, he's half black.
Spoiler alert.
But the point is, because of the times we're in, when it would be pointed out, like, oh, and good move having a and it's like, dude, I've always been doing this, and it wasn't I didn't do it to do it. Like, it's insulting to say that. And like rather than affirmative action and all these other things, we need to start writing roles that can be played by a variety of people and not having, we gotta have a black character in here. Okay, so this character, well, what sets them apart? They're black. What?
That's a twist.
But that's how we're really gonna start making progress. And these guys were way ahead of the time on that.
Another trope that you'll notice of Carpenter's that if you've seen like most of his movies, or like at the very least if you look back at Assault on Precinct 13, for example, he's got a real knack for character placement and actor placement in the composition. It's something that you wouldn't normally appreciate if you were watching it on HBO or at VHS. But even still, like just his use of foreground, but also spreading out his actors to make a point. And the shot of the homeless people in that previous scene with Alice, that feels like I even back then watching this movie, like on HBO, like the way that it looked in the shot, I was like, oh, that's a John Carpenter shot.
You know what else is unique about this movie in the world of Carpenter is usually there's a hero. You have your Laurie Strode, you have your Kurt Russells, you have your there's like a central lead, and as much as Simon and Simon might sort of been introduced as, a potential leader.
Is he Simon or Simon?
Donald Pleasance doesn't even have a name in this. He's just a priest.
He's just Loomis.
He's the second Simon. I don't know, but this movie, the story is bigger than its cast. It's a true ensemble. It's not about any one person's journey. It's a collective journey, and it's about humanity. And I think that is such another reason why this is one of his biggest movies, scope-wise. It's dealing with the end of the world. It's not a slasher who might get you. It's not, a man on a mission, or even, I guess, Big Trouble in Little China. Technically, they're saving the world in the most unlikely of cities.
In a more
The Thing.
mystical fantasy sort of way.
Yes.
But look at The Thing, and you look at this, and look, you look at the cast of The Thing, and there's so many actors who have since then gone on to so many great movies. Kurt Russell was the star of that movie,
Yes.
You couldn't hide the fact, even as much beard, hat, and glasses as you can put on the fucking guy, it was still Kurt Russell. Here, if you look at the dynamic, the way that he treats the characters in the compositions, he's keeping things wide a lot of times. Like in the beginning of the film when they were in USC, they were keeping, like you were saying, they were keeping the compositions a little dirty, a little more intimate because they were setting up our mains. But everyone here, the way that he sets up all these different characters as they're kind of working their way through the setup, it's a lot of wides, it's a lot of steady cams, it's revealing a lot of characters and how they're interacting with each other, exactly like The Thing. Other than when McCready's drinking his drink and playing chess, the way that he was always introducing all these characters were characters walking into rooms, revealing other characters, they have a dialogue, then usually that character moves on to find another, that's a John Carpenter shot. You know what I mean? Like he
framed within a frame, literally.
Yeah. And the way that he's bringing all these characters together it feels very organic. Yet, other than, you're right, Simon and Simon, which the movie is kind of priming to be our McCready in a way.
But then he basically just sort of fades into the ensemble.
Exactly. Whereas McCready in The Thing, you can tell that Carpenter was kind of like using him as an avatar in a way, or like his eyes into the rest of the scene, which again was very manipulative because is McCready The Thing? You don't know. Here, you get very close to, knowing like who's evil and who's not by the amount of makeup that's on them or whatever liquid is shooting out of their bodies or every orifice. Do you want to talk about Alice Cooper a little bit?
Well, I mean, of course, Alice Cooper has a small role in this, but a very memorable one.
But one which probably took 3 days to shoot, but he is like peppered throughout the movie where he feels like a formidable presence.
Yes, and
formidable presence. Ooh.
They even use
so sorry.
One of Alice Cooper's stage gags in the movie.
Yeah, isn't it that Carpenter and Cooper met backstage? And Carpenter, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm a big fan. I want to be in one of your movies." And Carpenter said, "Like, only if you can use that thing."
Yeah,
and that's how they used it, right?
Supposedly, that story's definitely out there. But there's also that he wanted Alice Cooper to do a song for it, and then Alice Cooper ended up in the movie. And Bob Ezrin, Alice Cooper's longtime manager for decades, was a producer on this movie as well. If you get a chance, you should definitely check out, what's it called? Hollywood Mensch?
Yeah, the documentary?
Yes, about Bob Ezrin. And when you realize all the things that man was involved in and what a good dude he is, it's easy to understand why Alice Cooper has had the career that he's had despite his setbacks with alcoholism and the changing of his image in the early 80s when he tried to go punk and Zipper Catches Skin and Dada and Flush the Fashion. Like, those albums were basically forgotten and then came back with trash. But point is, behind every artist with that type of longevity, there's often a
Pre-buyer.
manager or I gotta say it, or a woman. There's a woman who was at home fucking keeping them together and themselves. And I mean, so many autobiographies that I've read where people, they would literally have been nothing without their wives.
Their better halves. One thing I wanted to mention too, when we were in that wide shot, one of the unfortunate things about being a fan when you're reading Fangoria as a kid in the 80s, and you're seeing these images well before the movie a lot of times, right? So one of the unfortunate things about seeing this movie in the theater the first time was I kind of know who was going to live and die very early. You know, it was tough when you have media kind of dictating like, oh, yeah, he's going to buy it. He's going to be real sweaty at one point. That dude's not going to last. It kind of took some of the oomph out of it.
He's going to be real sweaty at one point.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the film itself never gives that hint away. Like, you couldn't watch this movie and pick out who's going to live or who's going to die. I mean, that was one thing that I remember talking to the writers of Wrong Turn 2, because I use this movie as an example of trying to have as neutral an ensemble as possible. The only person, you got to have somebody. Somebody's got to be in there to make the audience go, oh, I want to watch that movie. But for me, it was like, well, if it's the host of the show and we think that we dispatch him early on, he's going to come back, but everybody else is fair game. Even Eric Learson, who was in, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Texas Battle, was in Final Destination movies. I wanted to find fresh faces.
Wouldn't
especially
it be great if Texas Battle was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Texas Battle in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The Texas Battle Massacre. Oh God, fuck, we got to talk to him about that. But even Aleska Palladino, who's now gone on to be in fucking some amazing movies. She was in amazing movies back then. She was in the Sidney Lumet movie. What the fuck was she doing with me in Vancouver?
Do you know where they did post-production for this movie?
No.
Disney Studios.
This,
yes.
And it didn't burn to the ground? Dear Lord. The fucking worms,
there
man.
are a couple little, cheaper shots done.
You mean the one that was just in reverse? Did you notice that?
Yes, that. But the worms...
Oh, there it is again. It works, though.
There's randomly a pigeon crucified in the alley, later. Things that, they're just there to be kind of shocking, spooky imagery. But I'll take it, man. It's awesome.
But the way that he does it, the way that he's using the elements in a way, because think about it, the creepiest things that we've seen so far in this movie.
The floppy disks that they're working with.
There's something floppy in there. But think about it: maggots, flies, ants, and worms. He's not trying to scare you with anything more than stuff that you would find in your backyard. It's just how it's placed, how he's using it, like how he's using it with the homeless people and how they're embracing it in a way because they're being, kind of manipulated by the anti-God. I find that so wonderfully scary because he doesn't have a big scary, he's got Alice Cooper there. Shit, that kind of negates my whole theory. But he's got double stuff. And there's also Quaker Chewy Granola, all of our wonderful sponsors for this movie. Kool-Aid, Lipton, Kettle Chips, and a lot of Chinese food. This is another movie that, you can tell Shasta. Oh my God, Kool-Aid coolers. There's a lot of media going on here.
Tom get hurt here. My favorite thing about Tom and Jerry is when Tom does this yell. Here it comes.
With that.
Yep.
Or is that the Goofy? Shit, no, I think I did a Goofy.
That one.
Oh, that.
Yeah. No one can do it.
Not was it Mel Blanc?
Mel Blanc.
There's like we were saying before, the thing that I love about what Carpenter does with the frame is that he's very rarely, like what you just saw a minute ago when Dennis looks out the window, is likely one of the few, if only, handheld shots, and it's a point of view shot too. You also, if you look very closely, there's kind of a different lens flare on it as well. There's kind of that rainbowing effect that's on the end. But what I can't stand is how everybody, whenever a fucking blue lens shows up lately, it's J.J. Abrams. It's always as a kid, I recognized between these movies and Spielberg films what an anamorphic flare was. I didn't know it by name because I didn't have IMDb, but I would just go the funky blue flares. but there was something that effect always created for me. And it's so weird and subliminal, even back then, was that there was a sense of scope. Because you're taking these flares that are for all intents and purposes, they're mistakes. They were never designed. Not until like maybe the last 10, 15 years was anyone specifically designing lenses to give an effect like that. Are you trying to look for the time code thing?
Yeah, so we're about to get to the first kill of the movie, which happens about 35, 36 minutes in. There's the pigeon crucified for no reason. And
wow. This really, the first kill is 35 minutes in, past the first act point?
Yes, but remember too, there was the 10-minute opening credit sequence, which is sort of like a preamble, I guess. And it's not a movie about kills.
Yeah, you're right.
It's bigger than that. But this is the gag here. Again, we're 35 minutes into the movie right now. And this is Alice Cooper approaching him with the broken bicycle. Now, this was a gag that Alice did in his show with a mic stand where he would shove the mic stand through somebody on stage. And Carpenter was like, yeah, do that in the movie. Now, and when you think about it too, like this is an effect that easily could have been done. People have been being stabbed in movies forever.
Man, there's a lot of blood spray back there. Holy shit. Wow. I forgot how juicy this movie. I mean, I forgot, when you're looking at Fango and like all the effects, but it's a lot of fucking bloodletting in this flick. What a great moment. It doesn't make any sense. He should be falling over, but it works fucking great.
It's so funny. Alice Cooper has kind of always been old. Like, even when you go back and you watch the stuff from the very, very, like, Love It to Death and Killer, and he already looked old.
To talk about Alice Cooper one more time, there is, like we were talking before, like the use of the homeless people in the film as a threat in a way. He had talked about how when he was being directed on set by Carpenter that they were soulless in a way, which I always found very interesting because is that the reason why the anti-God can control them? You know what I mean? Like, was it because of them being soulless?
Because they wouldn't necessarily put up a fight. They're lost. They have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to be. They have nothing to identify with. Also, if you really listen to the dialogue in this movie, the Prince of Darkness it's not really a movie about bringing the son of Satan into our world.
There's been a lot of debate about this.
It's bringing Satan's father into the world.
Like, we didn't have IMDb, and the only person that would ever even converse with me about any horror movie, let alone something specific like this, was Evan Weitzberg down, 5 houses down, and that was it. That was the only other kid that watched Fango movies, with me, and watched horror movies, and we didn't have message boards. We didn't have, like film classes or shit like that would talk about this. So to be able to actually talk about these kind of themes that he was going for, like you were saying before, like, there's a level of this movie that you can watch that is very surface, and you can enjoy it as a very scary movie. It's a slow burn. It's definitely slower than a lot of his other movies, especially since we're just getting to the first kill at 35 minutes in. It's taking its time. I hate to say it's slow burns. It really does take its time to create an atmosphere and a sense of hell. Because when the further along that we get, and I love that he uses the sense of space by just allowing the characters to walk through, like this, this moment here, we're getting the lay of the land really well, because later on when it becomes a cat and mouse, you know exactly where everyone is, because all the storylines, I mean, they're already kind of splitting off to a degree here, but when everyone is so separated, I can tell you, I can draw a map of where everyone is in the film. I know exactly where everyone is. And a true craftsman in this art is someone that won't even let you know that you're being fed information.
Yes.
Whether it's all of this gobbledygook that they're talking about here, which could probably breeze over people very quickly, or stuff like geography, and character importance, and who, subliminally the film is siding with or not siding with. All of these things could get really hammered home, and you can get it feel like it's being shoved down your throat, whereas Carpenter does it in a way that feels effortless in a way.
Yeah.
What's interesting too here, you have so many characters in the shot, that we just went from a wide shot to a wide shot. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like maybe it punched in. Like that felt like there was two cameras on that moment.
But the camera had also moved more than 30 degrees.
Oh yeah, totally. But it's still it was a wide to a wide. Like you could have started on that B shot easily, and that could have been your master, and then you could have gone in. But the way that he's not, like I was saying before, it would have been an easy mark to just be on that one character talking and just let the audience kind of soak it in. Whereas I was more invested in watching everyone else take in this information like I was, an objective observer.
Yes, and you're part of the team. You're part of the research team.
Exactly. Like, and not having a movie star like that in this, oh, God damn it.
I love how, like, she started getting sprayed, so the actress had to open her mouth and line it up so it would go in her mouth.
Like she just kind of backed up a little bit.
Yeah.
To like, oh, here we go.
I've seen that
right
move
here.
in other movies.
That's Anne-Marie
Short
Howard
films.
playing Susan.
Short films that I've watched online.
So now at this point, now we're getting closer in.
Somebody out there got that.
Was I supposed to get that too?
Somebody got it.
Sorry.
I'm talking about porn.
Oh, sorry. I love all the technology here, the bleeps and the bloops, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps. Like, is that thing even doing anything in the background?
Well, it's like anytime... Minority Report is the last time I can think of a movie where the technology was like, holy shit, that's technology.
That makes sense.
And even that is now becoming real.
Yeah, it's scary.
But 80s movies with computers.
Oh, shit. You know what this scene's missing? Fuck. We need some Shasta. Boom, there it is.
They
Carpenter.
couldn't get tab.
The Carpenter Commerce Classic. Making sure it gets that little bit of
Scotch
commerce
tape
in there.
holder.
Yeah, that's some old school shit right there.
Is there a Sears catalog with the toys for Christmas in it by any chance?
Notice how Carpenter pulled a Spielberg right there. He went from like a master, which could have
Into
just
a
been its own
close-up.
master, and slowly crept in to
But-
make it more. Look at how beautifully that's framed too.
But he did it with with camera movement, which, yes, Spielberg does that. What I love is when Spielberg does it with blocking.
Yes.
When he goes
When
from a
it's-
wide to a close-up and the actors are the ones doing it.
Yes. And a lot of times, like I always think about that shot in Raiders where they walk, it's just the two of them walking in the room in the beginning before he goes off on the expedition, and the camera just tracks just a little bit to accommodate the eventual close up that comes
Yes.
up. But yeah, like the way that like Carpenter is using the camera here always feels deliberate. Like that shot of Susan when we're on the shampoo god. And then we go down to her, there is a cause and effect to it. It's not just, you could have just cut, like from it to her, but he's deliberately drawing your attention to the effects of the anti-god on everyone in a very deliberate, seamless sort of way by just using a very subtle camera movement. He's not ramming the camera, from one character to another. He's not doing anything super flashy. I mean, you could even say that, like in comparison, the opening shot of Halloween is a very flashy shot in comparison to anything that's being used in Prince of Darkness. There's very few moments where he's, like we were saying before, he's showing things off. He doesn't need to at this point. He's just giving you enough of all these characters, putting them in this situation, letting you get a lay of the land, knowing that there is a threat outside that's building, whether it's the elements or it's the homeless people or it's the imminent merging of the sun and the moon. All of these things are being set up and you don't even know it. And then when the shit hits the fan, which is in about 15 minutes from now, like it never stops. Like I specifically remember seeing this the first time in the theater and then seeing it on HBO again.
Oh, you saw this in the theater?
I did.
Wow.
And I had to sneak in, which sucked, but it was worth it. I still don't think I appreciated it the way I do now. Like I was like, yeah, cool. I liked it, because it was, I think it was like that Halloween's big movie. So it was like, I can't remember some of the other movies that came out that week or whatever, but I remember this being like the big Halloween movie for me at least. And I was psyched to see it. I saw it with my dad and he was just like, whatever, placate the kid, go see a horror movie. Ask him, or you could have asked him about like Serpent and the Rainbow, and he'd be like, whatever, or Creepshow 2, and what the kid wanted to see. he didn't give a shit. I remember really enjoying this, but it wasn't until like seeing it over and over again and going, there's more going on here than I expected, maybe even for a Carpenter movie, because, you know, you look at Big Trouble in Little China, that's an adventure film, not trying to, you know, like dig any deeper than to have a roller coaster ride, you know. Starman, it's a love story. It's a very simple story. And, you know, again, considering where he was at that point in his career, he wanted to branch out a little bit and do something more mainstream. He wasn't trying to push any larger agenda. And then Christine, obviously, you know, an adaptation of a Stephen King movie. And interestingly enough, you know, that's another movie where he's coming off of what was considered at the time a big bomb with The Thing. You know, so a lot of times his one for them ends up kind of kicking him in the ass a little bit, or maybe his ass got kicked and he's got something to prove. This is a something to prove movie.
Yeah.
You know, when we get to They Live, which is another one of the Alive Larry Franco movies, I think at that point it was like, well, that worked out. You know, like, hey, we made money. We got this thing, you know, done on time and on budget, and it got released. Let's do it again, you know. And then that's where Carpenter was like, well, let me start kind of digging deeper and finding like a deeper meaning or a deeper message. This movie feels like he's going, you know what? I know how to scare the fuck out of you. I know how to create tension, create suspense, create terror. I mean, this is in many ways, this is a Carpenter grab bag movie because it's got everything. He's
definitely throwing all of his tricks at you.
But again, not flashy. You know, he's not doing it in a way where it's
mess.
like, no, you know, like, I hate to say it, but as much as I love In the Mouth of Madness, you know, the movie did okay, but it spawned Village of the Damned, which I am not a fan of at all. I expected, knowing enough about Carpenter's oeuvre at that time even, to know that, like, In the Mouth of Madness, when I saw that in the theater, that felt like a Carpenter movie. Someone gave him money to make a fucking John Carpenter movie, and that was Mike DeLuca with the script, and it was obviously New Line with the production itself. You know, what was it exactly what he wanted at the end? That's to be said. But I remember watching In the Mouth of Madness going, that's a fucking John Carpenter movie. And then when it didn't really perform, with Village of the Damned, like, I thought, okay, this is where he's like Christine or like Prince of Darkness, where he's going to do something that's a little grittier. He's going to do something that, you know, maybe has more stakes for him. And oh God, I fucking hate that movie so much. Like it doesn't. That's like that's anti-Carpenter to me.
We are 47 minutes and 34 seconds into the movie. For those of you looking for a timestamp,
there you go. This guy I never really got.
Well, he's definitely there to be the, like,
Mullins.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Dirk Blocker.
He was left over from.
He looks like a Dirk Blocker. He looks like a linebacker, like that got really lucky. And was like, hey man, I hear you putting, you know, athletes in your movies and shit. You need a blocker. You need a backer. Actually, let me see. What else was he in? Because I'm very curious. Oh, Catch Me If You Can, The Outsiders. Wow, he's been in a lot of shit. But oh my God, it's one of the neighbors from Poltergeist.
Oh,
you know, with the fucking clicker.
Yes,
he's one of the neighbors from Poltergeist. God damn it, he's also. Oh my God, it's fucking it's Hitchcock from fucking Brooklyn Nine-Nine. The fucking bald guy. Holy shit. Wow. Well, you know what? I walked away from this commentary learning something huge. That just knowing that's fucking awesome.
Look at how sober Donald Pleasance is.
He doesn't have the nose,
I shot
the
him
alcohol.
6 times. Oh, I know, you said something different.
And Victor Wan's like, what?
He's like, what? You said that in another movie. Wait, why is your character's name? Technically, he's just called the priest. At least that's what he's credited as.
I thought it was Loomis.
Loomis is part of the movie. I don't think it's his character name.
Maybe it was also because I read it in Fango that they called him Loomis, and I don't know, maybe Mark Shapiro, whoever's writing that article at the time, might have said something. I don't remember it, but I do remember going, wait a second here. Like, is that the same dude? It could have been. And what's great is that Carpenter wrote...
He's just called Priest.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. Victor Wong and Dennis Dunn and Donald Pleasance, all of the parts were written specifically for those characters, for those actors. And that just goes back to what I was saying before. It's like when you're in a situation like this where you want to make a movie that can be, created in an efficient way as possible. I mean, you know this better than anybody. It's like you bring your friends on, like people that you can trust.
Here comes that crazy shot with the knife.
Yep.
Or the scissors.
And that was achieved by actually having the actress stand in place and having a truck go by, so it gives the impression that there's movement, because if the actor was holding the knife the whole time and you're trying to get that Evil Dead-esque shot, because I remember, look, that's a fucking John Carpenter shot if I ever saw one. All the people lined up.
This guy wandered in off the set of Die Hard. Also, yeah, I guess they do refer to him as Father Loomis, but he's credited as just priest. Which I think was so much cooler than
it should have just been.
It's like a Western in that way. Like,
yep. Do you? I never asked you this question.
All right, here it comes. This is the shot that we're talking about.
See bugs.
It's a shot where they basically put the actor on a dolly and had them hold the weapon.
No. That's not how they did it in here. Watch. It's the actor is standing in place and
the background's moving.
And the background moves.
That's what it was. Oh, the background's on the dolly.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to get that kind of focus and that kind of effect if the actor was moving the way it should. You'd get the bounce. It would be the
then it wouldn't be weird.
It would. But it is like it's the one time where there's a shot that just doesn't feel like it's quite in the language of the rest of the movie. I appreciate it, and if anything, Carpenter's probably like, "Hey, that Raimi kid, I like that shit he does. Do that," because that feels like an Evil Dead 2 shot. That's the eyeball shot in a way.
If there were like even just 2 more shots like that, or if whenever there was like a death scene, stylistically there was something off kilter like that, but that's really the only time in this movie that anything like that happens, and it's always stood out. It's cool, but
it it didn't need to be there. You know what I mean? Like it feels like something that it feels like they might have tried more stuff
from Jesus there.
Jesus bomb.
Jesus makes a cameo.
It could, like, if you took that shot out,
Jesus is
you wouldn't miss it at all. You know what I mean? Like it was fine without it.
Yeah.
Where is this one guy? Peter Jason, who plays Dr. Paul. God, I fucking love that dude. He was one of the members of the Resistance in They Live. Remember, he's the guy that was making the glasses.
Yep.
He was the bartender in 48 Hours.
Mm-hmm.
He's just one of those guys that has one of those great kind of like weathered faces. He kind of reminds me of Holt McNally right now. From what is it? From Manhunter. Doesn't he look like Holt McNally from Manhunter and Creepshow too, by the way?
Yeah.
He's just got one of those great fucking faces. Also has an unnaturally, like, very pronounced tan for everybody. Everybody else is, just kind of like hanging out, status quo kind of skin tones. And this guy looks like he just got out of a mystic tan. So I don't know if that was part of his character or not.
First dream sequence coming up right here.
So this was like literally shot off of a television.
Yeah.
And,
but it gives it that transmission quality.
It gives the transmission quality. It gives you enough kind of definition resistance in a way that you have no clues, because this is the first time that you're seeing anything like this. And what I love about what Carpenter does here is that he's got a trust in the audience that they're going to realize that there's a media change. It's something that as a filmmaker, you have to. I always hated that term where people would say, like, you got to treat the audience like it's dumb. It's like you got to just.
Well, sometimes you can't assume that the audience is thinking at all times. Like, there is certain information you have to tell them, otherwise they will get lost. The dream sequence, again, another reason why it's so scary is that it's a visual message that other human beings in the future are sending to human beings in the past in the hopes to try to save themselves from what's coming. And so they beam a signal, or like just a collection of video images. In this case, it's really one shot, but they beam it back to a specific spot in time, hoping that someone will pick up on it in their sleep. And so now anybody who falls asleep within that same proximity of each other, they're all having the same dream. I think that's the most interesting aspect of this movie, more so than bringing the devil back. Although the shots in the mirror, especially the final shot when she gets pulled through and she's being dragged slowly and it flickers out. Terrifying.
Like, I'm almost nervous about seeing that again because it gave me nightmares for years.
You never forget it.
And we'll talk about it when we get there, but there is such an arresting quality to those images. Oh,
dread. And that's what's so great about this movie is that...
Well, that's what Carpenter was going for.
Yes.
He was, instead of just...
suspense or terror,
the usual
dread.
stuff. And the dread element is something that I don't think enough filmmakers... I think there's more filmmakers now employing the sense of dread. Also, did you ever notice that when you first go in on that shot, it looked like that premonition had the same arm as the guy from The Thing when he pulls his arm up and he's all fucked up and he's got that big...
Oh.
It looks otherworldly in a way. And there was a moment, I think maybe the first time I saw it or not, where I think maybe I might have guessed that the big reveal was that the anti-god was an alien, and that maybe this was something that was connected to The Thing in a way. But obviously when you get to the end of the film, you know who it is or what it is.
In my notes here that I had jotted down before I did that interview for the book, I wrote that this was part 2 of Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, The Thing, Prince of Darkness, Mouth of Madness. So
I'm not knocking you.
No, but I'm saying it's I think those are Carpenter's own words in I think in one of the interviews on this disc, maybe, because I'd always heard they live, but the fact that I had actually written it down.
Very simple effect. If you ever have seen
Stand
by Me, we used it. I'm trying to remember.
Lardass.
We used it in something a long time ago where, it's as simple as just having a tube hooked up to the side of a person's cheek and you just kind of let her rip.
Or you get committed actors like Joel David Moore or Kane Hodder and they actually throw up.
But I don't think Carpenter was going for a vomit effect here. I think he was going for something more sinister.
I think Kane could probably do that.
There's something almost kind of insect-like about that where, fuck, man. Again, it's totally out of the fucking Thing. When the Thing shoots, you remember when the Thing squirts at the dogs? It's the same exact kind of thing. It's someone with a fucking fire hose nozzle. That's the beauty of these things. It's we sit here and pore over the diameter and the trajectory of the squirt, and it's it was some drunk fucking grip with a fire extinguisher in the background. What do you need, John?
A movie that recently employed that gag was Motley Crue's The Dirt.
You're right.
Yep.
Wait.
In the very opening.
Yep. There was a different type of squirt.
But same gag.
A squirt nonetheless.
Same gag, different body part.
And to some people, they did gag. So now that's how you open a fucking movie. Could you imagine if they did John Carpenter's The Dirt? How fucking great would that movie be?
Well, the squirting would be excellent.
There would be excellent squirting and probably some awesome anamorphics. And maybe they would have even incorporated the breakfast burrito moment from the book. Because that is one thing that I'm a little disappointed they didn't have.
Mick Mars would be Asian.
Mick Mars would be Victor Wong. Kurt Russell would be Tommy Lee. No, wait, Tommy Lee? Yeah, no, he's got to be Nikki Sixx. Who would be Dennis Dunn? Would be Vince Neil? No, Donald Pleasance would be Vince Neil. No.
Simon.
Yeah, no, exactly. Jameson would be. Oh, we've totally gone off the rails at this point. Jesus Christ. Yeah, let me see. One of the things that I really liked about this movie, and I'm let me talk about these guys. One thing that we haven't talked about yet is the makeup. Mike Mills did the most of the makeup, and he had worked on everything from the Back to the Future movies to Star Trek stuff. He's
former
done
movie
X-Files.
crypt guest.
Mark Shostrom was. It says he's uncredited. I mean, man, Mark Shostrom does a lot of uncredited work.
He does.
Maybe okay.
He's very picky. If he doesn't like a frame, he takes his name off the movie.
this is bullshit. But what's funny too is now that I looked and I didn't really remember that Shostrom worked on it. Shostrom had a very particular look, and if you see Phantasm 2 is a perfect example. By the way, the box set, the Phantasm box set, has a brand new transfer of Phantasm 2, including a lot of the gore stuff that was cut out before. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's so good. But Shostrom, and again, this is just from looking at stills for years of, everyone's work from Greg Canham to Tom Savini to Mark Shostrom to Rob Bottin. I mean, there's the all-stars, the Bottins and the Bakers and the Savinis.
And the Yeagers. And
Kevin Yeager is another example of someone who, if you look at his work from Nightmare 2 until Nightmare 4, and then you look at, who did, I think David Allen or something like that, who did in 1 and 5 and beyond, there is a definite texture quality and a definite, style with what Steve Johnson. Perfect example. Like, Steve Johnson worked on Big Trouble in Little China, and what I love about that, oh, by the way, Steve does a commentary on the new Shout Factory disc. It's fucking classic Steve Johnson. So if you liked his episode...
Does he smoke 6 cartons of cigarettes during the course of the commentary?
You can hear it. Oh, you can totally hear it. You'll not be saved. I love the use of the old school dot matrix-like computer. The technology in this movie is interesting because it gets used as a device for that, for that scene. But the difference between the technology and faith, ultimately, you have science and religion, and I think this is really interesting how I never noticed the speed ramp in that. Holy shit. I wonder if that was a speed ramp or they took frames out.
It looked like a speed ramp to me, but I guess we could go back and go frame by frame. But
you guys want to go back? Here, hold on. Let's go back. No, I'm kidding. I never noticed the sharper image mug. Holy shit. Wow. This movie is like... It's like that scene in Wayne's World where they all of a sudden just break out into product placement. Little. Oh, you have a headache? Little. Yellow, different, better. Advil. This guy's like, oh, so I have a makeout scene? Sweet.
This was actually the first interracial kiss in cinema.
What? For a split second, I'm like, wait, where'd you read that?
This always brings me back to that Halloween 2 Q&A at the New Beverly, when Brian Collins was hosting, and he had the director and 3 of the actors, and all the answers that they gave were wrong.
Yep.
And the audience and Brian had to keep correcting them. It was literally the worst Q&A ever.
It's it would be a good commentary for us.
But the woman that played the nurse tried
man.
to say she was the first African-American character in a horror movie.
Sounds about right, yeah.
And someone... Dan Madigan yells, "What about Night of the Living Dead?"
God, it was so uncomfortable in that room because we were because we were sitting next to each other. I remember us looking at each other going,
"Are they
this
doing
isn't happening, right?"
Are they doing a bit?
I thought they were doing a bit. I thought there's no way that these people could not have the information right. And
that poor woman had probably been telling that for 20, 30 years.
Oops.
Never bothered to watch another movie.
Another thing, motif-wise, to look out for with this movie and the way that Carpenter's using very deliberate frames, and it's something that you would never catch if you weren't watching the letterboxed version, is how he uses. This is fucking deep, folks. I'm sorry, but I've seen this movie enough to kind of notice it. The use of extension cords. If you notice when he's showing shots of the hallway, there are these, very, especially in the beginning when you're looking at it and you're looking at almost like a Kubrickian kind of composition where everything feels very controlled, right? But then as these people start coming in and as the shit starts to hit the fan and the stakes start getting raised, there is more chaos in the composition than usual. And look at a lot of these shots coming, like from before and even after, even just the use of the cables that are kind of slinking their way through the hallways.
How much you want to bet those were the production's lighting cables?
I wouldn't be surprised.
They were you know what? Leave them there. They would have cables running everywhere. It's fine. We're not stopping to hide those.
But that, I hate to say it, but if that was true or not, or if it was something that Carpenter thought of, day fucking one. It was a decision that was made, that was kept in the film, that they lived with. And however we interpret it as individuals enjoying these movies, subjectively, objectively, what have you, people are going to read into it, you know? And when you have a movie that's been around this long, that people have seen that many times, you know, I can safely say at this point that this movie has been seen more than John Carpenter. Oh, look, cables. This movie has been seen more than even John Carpenter, the filmmaker himself. Because when you're making a movie, you're watching the movie, you know, in the script phase, in the production phase, in the editing phase. When you're watching it in the editing phase, you're watching it over and over again. There's likely a good chance that you've seen your own movie roughly anywhere from, you know, 15 to 40 to 50 times. Oh my God. Hold on. I just want to hear the voice.
Oh yeah.
Because
the underwater voice.
Oh my God. I'm so fucking freaked out right now.
And then he turns into bugs.
Sorry, guys. I just want to hear this for a second because it's going to give me nightmares, and I'm kind of excited about it.
I've got a message for you, and you're not going to like it. Look at his chest. Breathe for death.
This is a great effect when he comes apart.
And then the thump, thump, thump.
Yeah, at that point, I would definitely be running.
But at this point, the stakes have been raised. They can't leave now, right? Like they're stuck there. There's no way. Like we're now in Assault on Precinct 13.
And they also do
Assault on Precinct 666.
Oh God!
Bada boom! And that's why I make the big bucks here, folks.
We are 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 35 seconds in.
I wasn't able to tell you before, but now thanks to the wonderment of my iPad accessing IMDb, if you are ever interested in going to the actual location just to see it from outside, you can go to the Japanese Union Church at 120 North San Pedro Street, Los Angeles, California. Oh, fuck. Isn't it weird, though, how, like, you just sweat that dude up and immediately the stakes raise again? You know, there's something about, like, the way that Gary's lighting the sweat, the way that the actor's performing it, there's something so inherently, like, dreadful. Again, going through, you know, like what you were saying before, like the dread of seeing him, especially when he's smiling and laughing, is so fucking disturbing. And think about the movies that Carpenter's made up until this point. You know, you have your Halloweens and you have your Assault on Precinct 13, The Thing, Escape from New York, and on and on. I don't think he's made a film this dreary. You know, like as much as The Thing is a pretty bleak film,
it's still a monster movie.
It's a monster movie, and there is the slight hope that helicopter will come and save those dudes. And then, you know, 3 or 4 years later, if the movie was a big hit the way it should have been, we might have gotten, you know, what happened to McCready and Keith David at the end of that film in Childs.
Yeah.
This movie is borderline nihilistic. Cables, boom, boom, boom. You should drink every time cables show up. You will be fucking smashed 20 minutes into this film. So you're welcome. Extension cord drinking game. You're very welcome. But like, as much as this could also, if you were like back in our day when you just watched movies that just showed up on HBO, you just kind of just did it. You weren't like VODing things. You just kind of watched a movie. Like, I remember this movie being on so many times on HBO, and of course I would just watch it. But if you're watching this film, it's like you're watching a possession movie, like a siege movie. Yeah. You're watching a monster movie in a way, or a devil movie. You're not watching this film where you couldn't say like this is an apocalyptic film. Carpenter would, but there is barely any hope in this fucking movie. For a movie that is mostly generated in a church, and it is a very Assault on Precinct 13-esque siege movie where it's a confined space and all these people are stuck. You talked about it earlier and you nailed it. Oh God, the use of reverse. See, reverse shot. See, I'm good. I know my reverse shots when it's pretty fucking deliberate, to be honest. This movie really doesn't have any hope to it. And I mean, maybe that's the reason why he had to make it independent. Maybe it's the reason why they were able to make it independent.
Well, but the other thing too is,
I mean, Universal ultimately distributed the film, but it was made independently.
but there is still hope in the end. I mean,
You
of,
think
of
so?
course, there's the cliffhanger of, well, maybe it's not quite over yet. Of course, but
But if you took that shot out, would there be more hope?
well, the cliffhanger isn't. It's an expected trope in a movie like this. It wasn't a shocker or anything like that. It's not the ending of the
Shocker!
Mist. It's but in the end,
Give you the
they
shocker.
do win. So even Carpenter, and which he says in the interview on this disc, as much as he enjoys, a bleak movie where it's a formidable force that humanity is up against, you still you enjoy these movies when good still conquers evil. You don't want to only just see evil keep winning. That's not an enjoyable experience for most people. Then there was grunge music.
So is this Carpenter's grunge movie?
No, because it has a happy ending.
I don't know. I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily agree that this has a happy ending.
You'll notice when they break the window.
There it is, sweaty.
I mean, a price is paid. An important life is lost. The girl that he didn't know yesterday, but is now like they're dating somehow. I guess if you just sexually harass somebody immediately, you're together.
I love how everyone who's possessed at this point has a trait, like whether it's, the tattoos or the heavy sweat or, a face that looks like Domino's pizza. And poor Dirk Blocker just gets just turn your head a little bit, crick your head a little bit and smile. You're good. Don't you want to maybe throw some shit on my bald head? No. You're just go do your thing. Just smile. Just smile and it'll be creepy enough. But now here's a good example of where Carpenter has now officially kind of split the gang up in a time of duress, and how he's able to make sure that the audience is constantly checking in with everyone here. Like poor Dennis gets stuck in this like confessional closet for pretty much the rest of the movie, and it's really interesting to kind of recall back to the time that I was just watching this as a film fan. And knowing where everyone is, knowing that Dennis is in a room 2 over, and that there is a wall that is connecting them, and then that will kind of be a plot point later on. It never struck me as false or just kind of weird that all of a sudden now now he's breaking through a wall. It's like I knew where the rest of everybody were, and it totally made sense. And just by using this very deliberate blocking that he does as a plot point, as a character trait of anyone who's possessed. Like if you look at this and say, was there something specific in the walk, in the any gesticulation or lack thereof? It's very much a motif of these possessed characters. What, she's dying on you?
Yeah, Arwen stinks.
I always wondered if Lee, who is it?
Baby's got a little gas.
Kelly's character, when she first shows up in the movie, when she gets out of the van, she's practically wearing a muumuu, like that. Like it goes beyond 80s. It's practically a fashionable burlap sack. It's really big. And then when we get to this point where now she's, pregnant, obviously, that shirt was very accommodating for the moment. Like it's almost like I'm kind of feeling pregnant today. I think this shirt's going to work out. I think it's going to be great. Man,
Arwen needs a mint.
You sure?
For those of you who tune into Movie Crypt Live on Sunday, you will be treated to a Arwen story.
They get a treat to that story
that happened this week.
Oh man,
I still haven't slept
since.
No, last night I was 20 minutes last night, and then it happened again, and yeah, I'm hurting.
Fun useless fact: if you take the name of the church, St. Godard's, and rearrange some of the letters, it comes out to anti-God.
How long did it take somebody to come up with that gem?
20 years, probably.
That's not a real thing.
Oh man, it's like the use. This is another thing that's just like maybe makeup specific that might be too minutia-like, but the use of like misting up or juicing up a lot of the effects on Kelly, like where where she's just kind of moist in a way. It's still I don't know what. It's a very subtle thing, but
we do it on all our movies. Just KY sells everything. If there's a glisten and a wetness to
and a
it,
light like complementing
then it's got that translucency. It feels way more tangible and real than just like goo of some sort or slime or whatever. Like you want your effects to be wet and moist and all these words that nobody likes saying. Moist.
The costume, I should mention the costume designer because the costume designer clearly loves rolled up sleeves. There's another motif in this film, and it is definitely the Miami Vice effect, I guess you could say.
It's a working man's film. It's a blue-collar horror movie, so that everyone's got their sleeves rolled up.
I don't know, because some of these sleeves seem like they were pretty pornographic, if you will. Weirdly enough, I'm looking it up now, and I do not see a costume designer. That is really fucking weird.
Sheila Jacobs.
Sheila, great job, Sheila. Excellent job. So now we're getting, where are we at on time? Because this is definitely into the third act at this point, right?
Almost.
About that.
Yeah, we are 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 12 seconds in. And the movie's an hour 41. So, yeah, about a half hour left. 20 minutes. Math, 6 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
We're at 116 and the movie is 140. So we've got about an hour and 5 minutes left to go.
If you look at, with...
We still have one more thing to record after this today.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
You sound great. You were so worried about I'm not going to sound good or I'm not going to have anything to say.
That's never happened ever.
What do you mean?
I'm not going to sound good.
You just said before, I'm not going to be able to do this.
We were shooting cryptics and my voice was like that, but I've had hot coffee. I feel a lot better.
You do sound better.
Thank you.
And you've had a few things to say. Like a few. I mean, I've been carrying the fucking torch the whole time. It's fine. I'm totally cool with it.
I laid out all the important stuff, and now you're just
laid out all the important stuff.
You're doing a Schwarzenegger. You're just saying what you're looking at. Yo. Okay, and they're leaning out the window. People down there.
I have been providing very cognitive and poignant analysis on the cinematic qualities of this film. So fuck off.
People will never look at The Fog the same way.
I like the fact that here's a scene that we've been using, or at least Carpenter and Gary, the DP, have been using shadows and darkness to their advantage for a while.
Gary, the DP's first movie as director of photography.
Ever?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
He was scared shitless.
I don't believe that at all.
It's true.
I'm looking that up. Fuck you. But I love the fact that this is done during the daytime. Again, another thing that like any filmmaker will tell you, like, Tobe Hooper being able to use pure daylight and make the most dreadful, terrifying movie with Texas Chainsaw. I had to learn a lot of that on Wrong Turn 2, where if you're going to try to generate scares and you don't have the advantage of cut to the moon. Actually, I do that at the very end of the movie, but for the most part, it's mostly during the day. It is incredibly hard to create atmosphere and a sense of danger a lot of times during the day, unless, depending on the story and stuff. But for a movie like this, where we've been generating most of our scares through darkness and through shadows and using more atypical horror movie scenarios and tropes to kind of get the point across, that scene I'll always remember as being terrifying to me, because it's using everything that we've been seeing before, the homeless people, the way that they walk and everything. Oh, here's another dream sequence. But done in a different form this time. And interestingly enough, if you watch every one of those scenes, with the homeless people, like the fact that they made that another scene in the alleyway with the homeless people slowly descending on our heroes again, it's like the only way that you would have been able to get away with that is if you just turned it from night to day.
Yeah.
It did lend a freshness to it. I'm looking this up, this first fucking movie. Maybe you might be right. I might be.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
I might be. God damn it, you're right.
Thank you.
For once. For once.
Hold on while I drop this mic.
Once. Gary went on to do They Live, obviously. He did RoboCop 3 with our good friend Fred Decker, but he also did Body Bags, In the Mouth of Madness, Village of the Damned, Escape from L.A.
Let's do Village of the Damned next month.
This is one, no, we're fucking doing Always before we do Village of the Damned, God damn it. I never got to ask you this, and I wanted to before, and we just kind of got caught up in the wonderful conversation and the lovely mustaches, but what do you think about vampires? Do you like vampires?
You know, I did not like vampires when it came out. But then
I kind of hated it the first time.
Yeah, but one of my friends made the funniest joke when we rewatched it on video.
Was it a Padre joke?
Because he was like, "Oh, I never saw that Carpenter movie," and I'm like, "No, man, trust me, you can skip it." No, I got to see it. Pat Grehan, who everyone called Swarthy because he was just a very swarthy guy, and he was as redhead as they come, and just as ginger as a ginger may be. And when when James Woods first like drags a vampire out into the sun and it just bursts into flames, from the couch you hear Swarthy with his mouth full of dip just go, "Yeah, that's like me when I go to the beach." And it was so funny.
What?
And it made me like vampires again. And
pizza
but
face.
I got to admit, when we watched it, because I was the one like, "Oh, trust me, you guys, you're not gonna like this. You're not gonna like this." It wasn't as bad as I thought.
Scream Factory just put out Vampires a couple months ago too, and I have it. I've just been kind of scared to watch it. There's something about look, James Woods is James Woods. He's fucking awesome. Maybe not the person, but the actor. I love his presence in movies, but there was something about like just his collaboration with Carpenter and how he kept saying Padre the whole time. I remember when the
Padre.
Oh, God damn it. I just wanted to, like, after a while, I'm like, dude, we get it. You're the cool guy that gets to call the religious figure like a slang term or something like that, or like a nickname. Great. You're edgy. It never really worked for me before. That dude also has a lot of dandruff. This guy, oh God, what's his name? We should look him up. He has nothing to do for this movie. He's got no purpose whatsoever.
Another thing that you guys missed, because it happened before we started rolling, was Arwen tried to fight Stephen Lang.
Oh my God, you're gonna love this episode.
It's not
on the episode itself, but when we were taking our usual like selfie type picture, there was an altercation.
He started to put his hand on me. That's what it was. And she looks at him and he goes, "Arwen," and then she went, "Ah!" because he
I
touched
turned
me.
around for a fucking hot second.
She tried to kill him.
She almost did. Like, she seriously almost killed Stephen Lang, which would have been
But which is funny
terrible.
because the publicist was kind of like spooked when she walked in, even though she has dogs. And she's like, "She's not going to bite me, is she? She's not going to bite me." I'm like, first of all, even if she did, you wouldn't feel it. And second of all, no, she's never bit anybody. And then she tried to kill Stephen Lang. What was it about him, Arm? What was your problem with him? You don't know? She's had really bad diarrhea for a couple days, everybody. So,
Dude, spoiler alert.
Well, you'll hear the story on Movie Cribs Live.
Or should I say a splatter alert? You might need a tarp after listening to the story.
And then she keeps licking her butt, and now it just stinks. Like her breath smells like diarrhea.
I want to bring up
Something so cute be so gross.
the poster of this movie. I'm looking at it again right now, and I remember going, "What the fuck is this movie?"
Oh yeah,
Like,
with the screaming face.
It's graphically, it's a really cool poster. But if you look at it, is the church in the middle of nowhere? Is the goo actually like a weird kind of mist? And who the fuck is that guy screaming? Like and he's got some shit on his face. It's got some shit on its face.
Bob Balls. He was in the first cut of the movie, but he got cut. Robert T. Balls.
I'm actually
like
looking
Bob
it
Balls.
up. It's Ernest McGillicuddy. You might know his work from Schindler's List.
No. Look it up. Robert T.
and
Balls.
Ed Wood.
Bob Balls.
I'm not looking up Bob
He's
Balls.
friends with Baby Vegas.
Baby Begas. I told Joe that we call him Baby Begas, and Lang was like, "I like that." He's like, "Fuck you." Sorry, buddy. Sorry. I know he's listening. No, he's not. But yeah, I mean, when this movie came out, it came out in October of 1987. It was, I think, October 24th. And Carpenter is the first to say, like, it died a swift death, which is really interesting, thinking that because it opened to 4 million. The budget was 3, it opened to 4, and the final domestic gross was 14 million. Now, that's not a bad haul. It made its money back, but I guess Carpenter at that point was, he was on an echelon.
It's like my hairdresser.
Ugh. I'm telling you, man, that fucking pizza, like, it looks like a cross between Freddy Krueger in Nightmare 3 and Freddy Krueger in Nightmare 5, where I'm like, hold the pepperoni. Seriously, Jesus Christ. But a great design. Like, the effects look really good, and I really appreciate how he's showing that progression in her rot, like where it's stages, like there's definite stages in her, I guess, rebirth in a way, I guess you would say, or her transformation.
Yeah.
That it
Which
also
doesn't quite make sense, because why is that happening to her when she's just going to go into the mirror to pull him out anyway?
I have no fucking clue. And there's a lot of stuff that you can't explain in this movie. And I got to admit, I'm fine with that. I would much rather there be like us going, what the fuck is going on with her teeth? Why does she have blue teeth?
The confidence in their effects to put them under such harsh light like that, direct, bright light. Normally, you try to keep your effects in shadow and you do everything you can to, show it but not show it.
Mm-hmm. And what's, as we're kind of winding down now, look at him. There's no purpose whatsoever. He's not even really helping. Okay, maybe a chair.
That guy didn't realize he was in the shot.
That guy didn't realize he was in this movie.
He's second AC.
He was a grip,
Brian,
and they're just like, dude, get out of the shot. Fuck it, leave it.
Brian,
it's
you're
fine.
in the movie.
And seriously, get some fucking Selsun Blue.
That was supposed to be Bob Ball's part, but then that guy stole the part from him. So Bob Balls is on the poster.
Please stop saying Bob Balls.
But not in the movie. It's fun to say.
That's the problem.
Balls.
Stop. Oh my God, stop
If you ever hear my punk band, I mentioned Bob Balls a lot on that record.
Bob Balls, baby beakers.
Bob Balls.
Bob Balls. Where the fuck did that come from?
We used to just add him into everything all the time. My friends and I growing up. It's just.
So what is he, like Sterling Torrington?
Basically, yeah. If Bob Balls is in it, we're watching it. I think we literally, you know what? I have a picture of a gravestone that's Robert Balls. Someone in Colorado found it. I don't remember which one of my friends. It might have been Steve. And there's just a picture of him standing over a grave, and it's Robert Balls. And we were so excited that he found Bob Balls. Not so happy that he was already dead.
So his surname is not like short, like for testicle, like Robert Testicle?
No, it's just B-A-L-L-S. Sometimes he goes by B-A-W-L-S, depending if he's a grip or an electric.
And Balls with sometimes Y.
Just pay attention to credits. Sometimes you'll see him pop up in the crew, and you're like, oh, shit, it's Bob Balls.
At this point now, shit's hitting the fan. Like we're now well into the third act, and our team is finally fighting back. Oh, God damn it. He got sprayed with the thing juice.
See,
he's turning into a fucking wolf.
If that had been Bob Balls, he would have turned away in time. Bob Balls doesn't go down by getting squirted in the mouth.
Where have we gone? Seriously, where the fuck have we gone?
Maybelline.
The use of I'm bringing this shit back. I'm taking the reins, man. Like, I had to fucking take your notes and take over for a while. It's fine.
We are at 128.04. 5,
but
6.
Think of this: when you have a major kind of set piece or a major device. Oh, he missed the spray. When you have a major
coming out of
kind
his
of
chest.
device with the reflection, I don't recall, and I'm like kind of mad at myself now for not trying to look for it earlier, but I don't recall the use of reflections being introduced much in the kind of first third of the film, which is interesting because, like when the mirrors become a big part of the final 10, 15 minutes of this movie, because that's the gateway for the dad of the anti-god,
Yes,
right? It's the dad.
The father of Satan.
So,
who no one ever talks about. It's always, the Antichrist, the son of Satan is coming, or Satan is coming. This movie elevates it.
The father of the devil is named Murray. How you doing? I'm Murray Fur. You might know my kid, Lusa. God, dad jokes for days, folks. We're hitting our stride at this point. Look, the fucking like foam bricks. Whatever. At this point, you're in the movie or you're not, and great effect. But you know what I mean? Like, there's so much going on with the reflection at this point that you would think that Carpenter, and maybe I missed it this time, and someone is going like, dude, you forgot that scene in the beginning with the reflection. But you know what I mean? Like not having something like this earlier on. Now this effect is created with mercury, right?
Yes.
And
which they took out of the fluid camera head.
Really?
Yes, they drained the head of the tripod and then put the mercury back in. Which is actually dangerous. You should never do that.
Was there a guy that was like crouched over like a fucking, like siphoning gas where he's like, hold on, fellas, I got this. And he just takes a like long tube.
Again, if you watch the interview with Carpenter,
he talks about that
on this disc. He talks about that. Yeah.
For real?
I swear to God.
Because I'm like, I want to watch that.
If I'm lying, then
strike you dead.
Yes,
you're fucking dead.
Strike me dead, and I don't actually know Bob Balls.
And again, we've been talking before. This movie was $3 million. It was a lower budget. And I'm curious, like when someone is like when Larry Franco is reading this script for the first time, going like, all right, we got $3 million. We got to do this, this, and this. Like there are scenes like interior hell. How do you create something like that where you're not breaking the bank or spending millions on some kind of elaborate special effects?
Well, remember, I mean, I think part of the brilliance of this movie is that they did shoot it all in practical locations. Yeah. Which definitely,
they shot this in hell?
It's not really
Which
hell.
is actually at the pool at the YMCA in Glendale? That's actually not where they shot that, but it worked for the time. But you know what I mean, though? Like, I remember being terrified of profile shots because there's really only very few moments that were in the other dimension, that were in what's, I guess, considered hell, in
the other side of the mirror.
Yeah. And it's ultimately a fish tank with Duvetine behind it.
Yep.
And yet it's fucking terrifying because it's what he's not showing you.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I hate to
and
say
if it had been fire and everything,
we would have expected that.
Yeah.
So the fact that he took a different turn for this and gave you a different view of what hell could be like, or what a different dimension is. So yeah, for all you filmmakers out there, that effect is, and both of these effects are obviously achieved by just turning the camera on its side and framing in a way that allows you enough negative space so that it feels like you're actually, shooting it from a horizontal plane, but it's actually going vertical.
A couple times in this movie, it just happened with Donald Pleasance, where a character stands up into the blurry part of the anamorphic lens.
Yes. By the way, did a 2x4 become like the most horrible, like the strongest weapon you could This guy could eat that fucking piece of foam.
That's why he's laughing
the
about
whole
it.
time. But the way he looked at and what an easy effect. All they needed, they needed those sleeves. They needed those fucking sleeves. So they're like, oh fuck, we can't bring that. We can't make that arm like reattach itself or like formulate again. Don't worry, we've got sleeves. Such simple use of sleight of hand. The fact that the sleeve was in the foreground and all he had was just the actress just slide her hand through. It's so simple.
The furniture just moving in front of Donald Pleasance like that.
Yeah, but at this point, do you believe it?
Yeah, I'm just saying...
Cables.
That's enough to take him out. Cables that are out of focus because of the anamorphic lens. And now Blunt gets super brave and just tackles her into the mirror.
Oh, my God.
But the fact that they only show the hand.
The hand, that's all you need.
And here, that shot's coming up, that's nightmare-inducing, where she's getting dragged in after.
And it's the use of the flashing too, because they have like a flashing effect, and then it goes dark.
And the idea that she is trapped in there forever in the dark. It's so simple, but it's so effective.
This is one of the movies that, like, look, Carpenter is a name brand, and all of his most of his movies at this point are very well known. They're great. They're very definitive IPs. This is one of those movies that I would want a sequel. I would want it. Like, could you imagine? Obviously they can't do that because of the actress's age. But like, if she came back, you know what I mean?
Here it comes. Here's the shot. Right there.
Oh my God. Oh, it's because now Pleasance and everyone else are like, we're saved. And yes, she made a sacrifice.
He's been stalking that girl for 21 hours at this point, and now she's gone. Another one lost to hell. Damn it, Simon and Simon.
Another one lost to hell. Yeah, just that image of her like desperately trying to reach for salvation, and she made the sacrifice and now she's stuck there, and whether she's dead or not, maybe it's even more terrifying not knowing, And look, you get a semblance of a denouement with her when you finally find out who's on the transmissions. There is a callback to that, but it's not certain, like you don't quite know. Is she in the future or is it even her? You don't know.
I believe in the other shots, it was a guy.
Oh, really? You know what? I think you're right too, because I remember even as a kid going, well, that's interesting because it didn't seem like her before, even with the backlighting or whatever that would hide it. It's just a different body language.
It could be story-wise because of how they wound up taking care of this problem. They changed the future, and now it's her. So you could say that's the bleak ending: is they didn't actually stop anything; they made it worse.
True. Like all commentaries by the Movie Crypt, you'll know that we have an affinity for bringing another opinion into the fray.
Abel Ferrara.
No, fuck no. No, he's definitely off for the rest of the year until the next 48-hour marathon. He's taking a break. But Roger Ebert is one of my favorite reviewers. He was one of the reviewers that I always appreciated as being someone who respected and treated genre very fairly. He was also someone who hated Friday the 13th movies. So, hey, can't win them all. But we love reading his reviews, and I wanted to expound on what Roger Ebert thought at the time. Now, this was a review that was written October 23rd, 1987, upon the release of Prince of Darkness. Deep in the crypts beneath the old church, the sleeper has been waiting for years. For 2,000 years, to be precise, ever since Christ came to earth to warn us of its existence. It is absolute evil. And now is the time, it has come again. Here is the now, green and amorphous, whirling around like a giant glass tube like zucchini in a blender. Okay. The tube is locked, but X-rays reveal that it is locked from the inside. An old priest reveals the secret of the sleeper, and a young priest enlists a theoretical physicist to help the battle as the sleeper awakens. The physicist gathers a group of graduate students, and they move into the old church with their computers and their folding cots to do battle with evil. I like this setup. I would not get a green light at all. And at first, all this is very engrossing as John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness gets off to an intriguing start. But then the movie loses its way. Instead of a battle between science and the supernatural, between certainty of the visible world and the chaos of the subatomic world, what we get is another one of those movies in which the bodies of the good are occupied by evil forces, and then one after another until a violent conclusion. I'm sorry, I'm going to pause this for a second because one thing that I always appreciated about John Carpenter movies, not just the sweat and the fact that this dude has an innie for a nipple, really weird, is that this motherfucker knows how to make a final shot.
Yes, he does. Also, in the, I don't know what year it was, probably 2006, Aeroscope Halloween short, King in the Box, we did the gag straight out of this, copied the shot, like shot for shot, where Jack from Jack in the Box wakes up and turns to his right, and there's the king. That same scare that they just did.
This moment here, and if you're a fan of Watchmen, I would say that they kind of ripped this final shot off in a way where you don't get the satisfaction of giving the audience the answer. And that kind of ambiguity is something that I think Carpenter was very, very astute in knowing that you can still satisfy an audience but give them something to chew on a little bit. And I specifically remember watching, or like being done with this movie and looking at my mirror a little, like a very different way. Yes, Dark Figure was played by a different person, Jesse Ferguson. So there you go. And Jeff Amata, who Carpenter worked with on Big Trouble in Little China, who's one of the best stunt people in town, worked on this film as well. But yeah, Carpenter for the longest time has always known how to fucking end a movie, and you can't not deny that. Anyway, back to Ebert. The setup for Prince of Darkness is pretty good. The priest, Donald Pleasance, looking worried, appeals to the scientist, Victor Wong, to save the planet. The graduate students are introduced, and a small romance blossoms between two of them. The computers are wheeled in. I was looking for a cross between The Exorcist and The Entity, but then the movie suddenly turned simplistic as the evil sleeper turned into a dud. Let's face it, when a movie promises us the Prince of Darkness, we expect more than a green thing in a tube that sprays liquid onto people's mouths, turning them into zombies who stand around for most of the movie looking like they can't remember which bus to take. When we were threatened with the Armageddon, we expected more than people hitting each other over the head with 2x4s. Fair enough. And when the characters are all...
A great example of what I was talking about just the other day in the podcast, where expectation can ruin movies. He's basically saying, when I heard the title, I wanted this, this, and this. I didn't get that. Therefore, the movie isn't good. No, the movie just isn't what you thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Judge it for what it is.
And when the characters are all introduced as competent physicists in their own right, even if you don't have doctorates, we don't expect them to make the most common mistake of all horror movie characters, which is to wander off alone and present themselves as the entity's next victim. Didn't they see Carpenter's version of The Thing when the characters made the same mistake? The movie tries to compensate for with a thin plot with some thick, even oppressive music. Hey, Adam called it. Composed by Carpenter and Alan Howarth, apparently on a synthesizer that's also been possessed by the devil. The music is effective at first, but then it grows obnoxious, loud, and annoying. The kind of music that tells us the sights that we are witnessing are not as banal as they seem. Prince of Darkness contains ingredients for a much better movie. I liked, for example, the notion that the characters were receiving radio transmissions from the future of their dreams. We concur. I like the idea of the mirrors as the doorway to the next dimension. True again. And I enjoyed the computer gimmicks that were used to measure up the monster, even if they never paid off. Fair enough. Instead, the movie denigrated into a bunch of people chasing each other around down a hallway while the soundtrack went berserk. Call me an optimist, but I believe absolute evil should somehow be worse than that. And there you go. Thank you, Roger Ebert. And you know what? Fair points. However, I think the good far outweigh the bad in this case. And also, extension cords have never been scarier. So there you go.
It's a great movie, man.
I love this movie so much. And I am so thrilled that you guys made it this far and have completed the movie with us. Prince of Darkness, or shall I say, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
So that is it for this month. And we will see you next month with an all new, actually, is that what we're doing?
Which one? We're doing all